Hi, and thank you everybody for joining me today on this Monday. My name is Tara. I'm with Love Prevails. I'm here with my friend Scott. How are you, Scott?
Good, Tairah. Thank
Good,
you.
good. I'm excited to hear what Scott's story today. Scott, what I'm doing here with these videos is I'm introducing Love Prevails, and with Love Prevails, we offer intervention support services and peer support services for people that are struggling with alcohol and their loved ones. And my goal is to get people into treatment and to help them, because life can be so much better sober. And as you know, and as I know, and my goal is for others to be able to know as well.
Thank you, Tairah. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. You got big plans for your weekend?
This weekend, Saturday night, I'll hang out with a friend. She's going to cook me crab cakes.
Crab
And
cakes.
she's supposed to be a really good cook. So
Nice.
she's just a friend. She's an AA girl. I met her at day one in sobriety. And she had 107 days last time I saw her, last Friday. So, yeah.
I love crab cakes.
I love crab cakes, too.
Yeah. I used to make crab cakes all the time. I love them.
She's making me crab cakes.
Now I think I need to go home and make some crab cakes. Very cool.
I'm excited.
Yes. Yeah.
I got to bring dessert.
Yeah. So, I know we were talking a little bit, and full disclosure, we already did a full video, but we had absolutely zero audio. So we are doing this again.
Yeah, more prepared.
So yeah,
it's okay.
So that's all right. I'm glad that you're willing to do this again with me.
Thanks to your drink.
Mine's already empty.
Caffeine.
Mine's already empty.
Oh, I got a little left.
But we can cheers anyway. So to another video. Now, I've known you for a little bit in the rooms off and on, and tell me a little bit about what brought you into sobriety. Why did you decide you needed to get sober?
Well, my sobriety date today is June 25th, 2023. What brought me into the rooms? I was born in 1982. At 2005, I was 22 years old. I came into the rooms because I was having problems with alcohol. Yes, I was drinking too much. And my behaviors were not very good. I had a girlfriend, a beautiful girlfriend that I know everybody liked, and we had the same friends, and I'd gained a lot of popularity through being good in sports and stuff and whatever in high school, and all the friends and knew her, knew me, and I was getting drunk and being physically abusive to her, and that wasn't fun to be known as that. It only happened a couple times, but once happens once, it was like, it starts to kind of, my reputation started to fade a little bit. My pride started to go down, go away. Yeah. And then I grew up with that with my mom and dad, and I was mad at my dad for how he treated my mom, and here I was, being worse than him, really, and yeah, that really hurt me. So I had to try to figure something out.
Yeah. And so it was just like that. You figured out you were an alcoholic, or tell me a little bit more about how you figured that out.
Thank you. As we learned in our first rehearsal.
I already know this story.
She would have never asked that question.
I'm trying to decide, do I just ask him? Or?
Yeah, so as I said in our first rehearsal, I was really depressed, during that time when that was happening, 21, 22 years old. I was smoking weed because that's what we did. And, I thought the weed was making me depressed, and I was losing my natural ambition in life. So I wanted to go see a psychologist that would hold me accountable so I didn't smoke weed. And I would go there every Monday, and she would ask me, like, how much did you drink this past weekend? And I'd be like, I don't know, a little bit. But she seemed to know, like, from the beginning I had a problem with alcohol. But she just wasn't really telling me that. Right. But then as I went down there seeing her and gaining her trust, I don't know how many sessions. It was pretty regular. I was going every week. I definitely was serious about going, but I wasn't. She was asking me about that drinking. And then I was telling her what I was doing to my girlfriend and how I embarrassed myself and embarrassed her. And, and one day she just said, do you realize you're an alcoholic? and that was the first time I'd ever even thought or that, oh shoot, I'm an alcoholic. Didn't know what it meant, but I didn't disagree with her.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you didn't disagree with her.
No, I didn't disagree with her.
So did
something
you,
inside
do you
of
think
me?
Subconsciously, you knew.
Yeah, when I had heard that from a trusted external source that had gained my trust on that level, she hit me on that level.
Because I had a psychologist tell me I was an alcoholic. They didn't come right out and tell me I was an alcoholic. For me, I didn't have a clue. And they had me write down, how much are you drinking? And I was very honest because I didn't have a clue. Never dawned on me. I thought what I was doing was normal. So I was very honest. And they were like, do you think you're an alcoholic? I'm like, heck no. No, I'm not an alcoholic. And they were like, well, this is what a normal drinker drinks. And this is what an alcoholic drinks. And I was drinking leaps and bounds more than the clinical definition of an alcoholic. And I was doing the math in my head, looking at this paper going, what? Doing the math in my head. And I was like, that's stupid. And so that's how I found out. But I disagreed. I honestly thought that they were a jackass and they were just purposely being a jerk.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't disagree with her. But that same time, I wasn't making any commitment to not drinking right away.
Yeah.
It was just like I was carrying around a little bit of knowledge now that I got. All right, I'm an alcoholic, but I just drink.
Did you think about that every time you drank? You just sit there and contemplate?
The obsession in my mind that was taken over, to try to bury it. This is where the control drinking we try to control drinking. Really, really work hard on, I didn't know in the book where it talks about control drinking. It's like, but I have an episode in a time period in my life, and looking back 20 years later, it's like, all right, it was only a short time period. There's many people that go decades, but my period of controlled drinking might have only been 6 months, but I still had that, period. And I remember my method would be, I'll drink 2 beers, 1 water. I'll drink slow. And we'd be in the summer at a concert in Camden, New Jersey, and 2 beers and a water. 2 beers and a water. I just remember I wasn't having fun. And there's a story in the book that really hit me when I heard the line. It said, I think it's a lady that says, when I tried to control my drinking, I didn't enjoy it, and when I enjoyed it, I couldn't control it.
Yeah, because you have to. You're doing too much. You're spending too much time thinking about what you're drinking.
Yeah,
and it consumes a lot.
Yeah, and actually, the very end of that little 6-month period would be like the day that I last had my drink, because it was my girlfriend was turning 21, the one that I was telling you about, and I got us a limo for us to all go out, and my mind was saying, I'm really going to drink the way I really been wanting to drink. I'm going to let it all. I wasn't telling anybody that, but I knew I was going to do that because I've been just, not satisfied, and I went and drank, and I started to really sense girlfriend was not being nice to me and ignoring me, and I really started to feel that violent part of myself. And then I knew my friends that did cocaine were going in the back alley.
Yeah.
And I knew cocaine made me happy. And she didn't want me ever touching cocaine. She had came in my life when I was just starting to have a problem with cocaine. And she kind of kept me away from it. So now, 1.5 years down the road, I'm staying away from that, but I'm having problems with alcohol. Right. And it's like I went and did a couple lines, came back in. All of a sudden, she wanted to show me some attention.
Yeah.
I was in a good mood. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, man, I felt like I did cocaine like every day since, because I really had serious physical withdrawals from cocaine for the short time I did it 1.5 years before. And I remember my mind just thinking cocaine, obsessing. Now my mind was doing it about alcohol. I was in college and I was in a class, and it was a math class I had to take. There was no credits because I had to get up to the standard of
Yeah.
like, you know. And I remember in my mind on a Monday morning or something, just thinking alcohol, 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 and I was scared because I'm like, why am I thinking about? I'm looking around the room like,
Right.
ain't nobody else thinking alcohol in this room,
Mm-hmm.
and my mind's just racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you got through that period and you finally stopped drinking. And how long did you stay sober?
For 15 years.
For 15 years. So tell us about what happened because in the beginning of the video you told us that your sobriety date was in 2023.
Right.
So do you mind sharing that what happened there?
Now, 15 years sober, August 24th, 2005 till about September 2020. And at that point, I was in Texas. I'm from New Jersey. I was down there. I didn't really have a lot of the girlfriend that I did have that kind of kept me grounded for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
We were breaking up, and that was kind of tough.
So did that girlfriend stay with you the whole time?
Of relapse?
That girlfriend that the original.
No.
Okay.
No. After I was 6 months sober at 22 years old, we broke up.
Okay.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. Yeah, she, history.
Yeah.
I went on one date with her like 2 years later, and it was amazing. Like, we went on a nice dinner in Philadelphia. I always had that fondness for her. But like, we went out and it was like, she said, you are so much different. She didn't even recognize me.
Wow.
2 years sober, 24 years old. And here's a person that spent a lot of time with me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even the same person.
Wow.
Like, period.
Mm-hmm.
And my attraction to her wasn't the same either.
Right.
But I enjoyed the time with her.
Yeah, that's awesome.
From that place of, wow, like, I stuck with what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I told her family that I remember saying I was going to move west. I was going to go to law school. These were things that I said.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to law school, graduating, and coming out to Denver. But I thought I was just saying it.
Right. But it happened.
Anyway, she's not the girlfriend. There was a different girl.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, a girl I met down there in Texas. And, she was good. She kept me grounded. I didn't know anybody down there. But then she was breaking up with me. And, or we were just kind of going away apart. And a young girl came into my life. She was like fun. And business opportunity came into. And I, got to do personal injury and form my own business during COVID up here in Colorado, even though I was down there with a guy I know up here. And we started making really good money. And I had a lot of free time and got to do what I wanted. And I just, the young girl that I was around, she liked to smoke weed. She was like exotic dancer girl.
Mm-hmm.
I met her not at a club, but I met her some other random way. And then, she was fun. So she distracted me, and it was like replaced the pain and the loneliness that I otherwise was going to have to face.
Right.
That I was facing before I met the other girl.
Mm-hmm.
That I was going to like go right back to.
Right.
It's one thing when you're there, and it's one thing when you're not there and you know what's waiting for you. And, I just chose to keep the fun company, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Keep paying for it.
Yeah.
And, focus all my attention on making money and, making sure I pay my bills.
Right.
Right. Some bills being not, all of a sudden marijuana showed up.
Mm-hmm.
The girl was a bill. And it was just, once you do something, once you choose a road, you don't know really where it's going to take you.
Right. Until you're there.
And you're there, and then it becomes normal.
Right.
That's that.
So you got sober again.
Yep.
So relapse is a part of your story. Relapse is a part of my story. And what I have heard, what is true for me, is sometimes you have to have a relapse to, so that you can see what's really important and how serious this is. And that's what got me sober again. My relapse was very, very short. but I realized in that very short period of time that this was super serious for me. Did that happen for you?
Yeah, thanks. I answered it differently the first time around than I would answer it this time, but I think what I realize is that the disease is just serious, and it's, I don't know if relapse has to happen, but I don't know.
Do you have a different outlook on your sobriety now than you did during that 15 years?
It's weird because I'm 20, 23, 24, 25. Life is different today. 42 years old. I don't move the same as I used to move, and I don't, do I have a different outlook? I always enjoyed sobriety. I always worked hard at sobriety. I met seriously powerful people in sobriety. But I don't have a different outlook on sobriety today than I did then. I just, I like my sobriety. I work hard in my life.
Yeah.
But also where I'm at is not any reflection on 2 years of not being sober. I look at my life as I was sober 18 of the last 20 of my years on period.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it like, I look at it as like my life and where I'm at today, what I get to do for my living, the freedoms that I have in my own thinking, all that's been a process. And even the non-sober period helped with that.
Right. Yeah. So what keeps you sober now? What makes you want to stay?
Well, don't get too ahead of myself. Just do it today. I got challenges that I always like to be challenged. So I'm challenged by work, challenged by the success at work, and the people that I meet are smart. The couple people are very smart around me. They're smart enough to know, like, I could be a guy that can get high on my horse. They help keep me grounded.
Right.
They don't give me those pats on the back. They help keep me grounded.
Yeah.
Business as usual. Stay soft. The Bible says if you do something with your right hand, good. Don't let your left hand know. Don't have to go and now. Me and my family, my dad and stuff, we have problems. When you have self-esteem issues, you have to do things to try to make yourself seem bigger or better. And it always backfires.
Yeah.
Because it says in that same paragraph in the Bible that, how rich your reward is in heaven when you don't say anything. Heaven being the internal part. So it's really it's a spiritual practice, to be, I share with you how I helped a young girl out, handed her money. And that's, I guess, I'm sharing with you, but it's like, there's something else I did that I want to talk about. Like, I did this, but it's like, I told myself, I'm not going to tell my mom that. I'm not telling anybody that, because that's a practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've heard, if you truly have it, you don't need to tell everybody about it. If you have to tell everybody about it, you probably don't actually have it.
In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says, those who know do not say. And those who say do not
know.
That's what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that to be true. And that's how I've always been. That's how I was in the past too. When I was dealing with the low self-esteem, I had to tell you everything.
Yep.
To make me appear, I wanted to be smart. I wanted to look smart. I wanted to feel smart. I wanted to be just as relevant as the next person. And the more I tried that, the less relevant I was. And I was just like, I was invisible.
Yeah, and I can, Tairah said we went to meetings, and really, when I got sober June 25th, 2023, I just moved one exit from this Orchard Club where we're
Mm-hmm.
sitting right here. And I started coming to Orchard Club every day, Monday to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if I came here on Fridays. The Fridays I would go over to Ed Club, but Monday to Thursday. And I see you a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I would notice like people's behaviors in the rooms. There's a lot of women in the Orchard Club, and you know, some at the meetings, and there was a clicky,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that they would throw like a little bit of shade your way, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed how you would just, I think what you said, you weren't looking for their. I watched you just really just be okay with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, I do. I make it a point to not be in cliques. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
a part of a clique of any kind. I want to be open to everybody.
Yeah, but you were nice to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched what you talked about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to treat everybody the way I would want to be treated. Nobody is excluded from my circle.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you not just doing this interview with me, but twice. So thank you so much, and I'm really glad that we were able to work this out because you know we had some challenges in getting together.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that, you know, your willingness to keep trying with me.
Yeah.
And I hope that you all enjoyed Scott's story as much as I did. If you or somebody you know is struggling with addiction, please reach out to me. Keep an eye out. We're also starting a YouTube channel. We'll keep you posted on that, and that'll be available in the comments as well. Um, please reach out to me. Your best life is waiting for you. We can find it together. Please like, share, comment these videos so that we can continue to reach others that are struggling and that would like to hear the message of sobriety. It's a great life, a great place to be, and a lot of really great people.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you,
And
Tairah.
I look forward to seeing you around, you know, in the future. And it's been a pleasure doing this with you.
Thank you for listening.
All right. You all have a wonderful week.
Bye.